This is Why Small Business Matters from Northumbria University, supporting small businesses with the Help to Grow management programme.
Welcome to this episode of Why Small Business Matters. My name is Sarah Stevenson, and I'm part of the team at Northumbria University, spending the last decade working with hundreds of SMEs, listening to their experiences, helping them to overcome their challenges, and celebrating success. Today, I'm joined by Jessica Williams and Toby Bridges.
I think a lot of the great ideas are born in small business. They're born in startups, they're born in spin-outs.
They are the engine of the North East. I really believe that. And like Toby said, we're fortunate to have some really big players.
Jess Williams is a sales solution business offering a wide range of sales, research, strategy and networking advice to business. Jessica has also this year launched a sales academy with the aim of professionalising the sales industry. Toby's firm, NBT, is a family-run business established in 1908 by Toby's ancestors who migrated to Newcastle from the Netherlands. They set up an electrical supply company for the city's tram network and over the years have developed the business, whose core mission now is to revolutionise supply chain management by delivering fully automated Industry 4.0 solutions. Jessica and Toby share several things in common, which we'll come on to later, but they are also a couple, so it'll be interesting to hear whether they discuss business at home or whether they leave it at the door. Jessica and Toby, welcome to Why Small Business Matters.
Thank you for having us.
Let's start with Jessica. Why did you think it was important to launch an online training academy?
I think that the market's changed significantly in the last few years, and we'd actually already launched Jessica Williams Sales Academy as a sub-brand of the main business around about 2 years ago, and in that time frame we've trained over 2,000 people. Obviously the last 2 years have been remarkably challenging for that market. There's been a real transition to online training, and there's a lot of organisations that wanted that support. Now, I was a startup business. I'm now a startup business again. I think to be fair, we're probably all startup businesses to some extent in the current market. And what was really evident was that a lot of organisations are looking to diversify. They're looking to grow, but for a startup, it's very, very challenging to get to that next step. And so, what I wanted to do was provide an online platform that was accessible for organisations to be able to access training for themselves as small business owners to help grow their business. And that's why we launched the online platform.
Great. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But Toby, can you just tell us how your company is developed and explain in lay terms what 4.0 means?
So my business is a 113-year-old family business, so slightly older than Jess's company. I'm fourth generation. We are a supply chain management company, so we manage industrial plants. We manage everything that they buy. My iteration of the business has led us to using automated technologies to manage those supply chains. So whether that's point of use vending technologies or walk-in, walk-out stores, it's all about automating the process behind the acquisition of products. And the where we're taking the business to now is then taking that software that we have that manages those supply chains and tying it into other parts of the factory, so tying it into its predictive maintenance perhaps, so that we can gather more data, so that we can order product more accurately, and ultimately allow the human piece to get on and do more value-adding tasks rather than doing the day-to-day mundane. So it's all about reducing operating efficiency. So Industry 4 is exactly that. It's gathering more data, analysing more data, and allowing you to make better decisions based on it.
And I think probably the one thing that I notice talking to you both is you both emphasise the importance of people and culture within your business, and allowing collaboration and creativity. So I just wondered if you could both perhaps tell me a little bit about how you enhance that within your business and why that's important to you.
From a sales and marketing perspective, it's really fundamental. People are really fundamental, and the culture that we've got at Jess Williams is hugely critical to our success. I think I mentioned earlier, we're very early on the journey into looking at becoming a B Corp, which is very exciting in regards to where we move the company forward. And my ambition has always been about professionalising the sales industry as a whole. And finding and retaining salespeople is remarkably challenging across the UK. I think every sector feels that. So really investing in my team, investing in my people is really, really important. And communities are a huge part for us as well. So we've we've raised a significant amount of money over the last 5 years, 6 years for our charity partners. We've got charity partners every year. We have team training on a bi-weekly basis. My people are really the most important thing to my business, and we invest in that heavily. And for the growth plans that we've got moving forward, that's instrumental. Recruitment is a remarkably challenging aspect for every business at the moment. So we're partnering with a number of providers locally to support our future talent acquisition, but also ensuring that we're investing in our people to retain them moving forward.
And what does that mean in terms of, where you go for talent now? Do you go direct to universities? Do you use recruitment businesses? How do you find the people you need?
We look at a mixture, Sarah, as I think Toby does as well. I think it's really important that you diversify that option and that you mitigate that risk to a certain extent. So we partner with a number of organisations to support that growth, but we also really encourage internal progression within the organisation.
I think it's changed over the years. I mean, once upon a time, we probably would have put an advert in the newspaper, and now we use all sorts of different ways of accessing people. The reason I'm sitting in a car today is because we've just finished an Innovate UK project alongside Northumbria University, tied into the automotive sector in the northeast, and I've just been to a meeting around that. And so it's how do you go meet good people? How do you find good people? How do we work with the university to bring people through? We have a PhD student working with us at the moment. And it's not about the 2 or 3 year project they will do with us. It's about whether they will stay with us moving forward. So I think there's all sorts of different ways of looking at it. But I think going back to your original question, in any business, there's nothing more important than people. I always say, if I'm mentoring, it's always about cash and it's always about people. And we have to look after our people. And I think, and as I was describing our business before, when we're talking about automation, it is about automating people's jobs. So therefore, how do we create the right mindset to move people forward and look at what tomorrow's jobs are going to look like, so that they're not left behind? And that becomes a critical thing as well. So again, working with a research partner or a partner like Northumbria University that helps us with that movement forward. I sit on the Left Growth Board as well, and we talk about more and better jobs in the northeast. But we have to understand what those better jobs are and what are they going to be tomorrow. So there's all sorts of different ways of looking at that now, I think, Sarah, and skinning that cat.
And I think, from a Tees Valley perspective, and I sit on the Tees Valley Combined Authority, business and engagement perspective as well, because I think we've got to bridge those gaps between businesses and the academic world. I think that's really, really important. Is I know where I'm moving my business forward, as does Toby, and I know I've got a skills gap there. I know I've got a skills shortage, and I think it's really, really important that we work with the universities in our region to very much help support that and provide those opportunities to move that forward.
We absolutely have a skills shortage. That's a real concern.
Across the northeast, in fact, across the UK, across a multitude of sectors, and it really is quite significant and growing. And I think that's across, as I say, every single skill set to a certain extent.
You've just described, the importance of your staff and recruitment and fundamentally where you might look for people to join your organisation. I just want to go back to the organisations themselves and whether you could just describe your company structures, because I know you've described working in squads, and I just wondered whether that meant that perhaps you have a less traditional hierarchy in your organisations than many SMEs in the region. Yeah,
we just took a view on how we wanted to run the business and how we want people to be involved. And at the end of the day, I'd always say that at any point in time, anyone is the chief executive. And therefore, it's about trying to give people the ability and the knowledge and the confidence to make the decision there and then. So we looked at our business, which was, we're only a small company. There's only 35 or 36 of us. We're not a big company. But we're managing client sites for people, and those sites need various services. So we'll have supply chain service, we'll have a fulfillment service, we'll have a technology service, and we'll have people out of each of those verticals working for the client. So ultimately, we will have a fulfillment person sitting on a site at Unipress, let's say, who reports into the fulfillment boss, but also reports to the person who's leading the team at Unipress. So therefore, it's a matrix. So we talk about squads and tribes, and the squad is the team that leads the client. The tribe is the vertical, so the old division in old corporate speak, and it just allows us to let them work autonomously within a purpose and within a set of within the KPIs that they have for that client. So that's why we set up that matrix. I'd like to say that we created it ourselves. We didn't. We stole it from Skyscanner, because I spoke to them, and that's how they were doing it, and they ultimately took it from Spotify. So it's just trying to create a more networked way of working so that people can run autonomously and make decisions there and then we can switch people in and out of those tribes or squads as needed.
And Jessica, what about your business?
So obviously my business is quite different to Toby's. We're much smaller, but in terms of the structure that we have, I think again promoting that autonomous approach really, and ensuring that that equality exists throughout the team. Is that that feedback's relevant? Is that I've got people from a really diverse range of experiences, and how that impacts the business on a regular basis is strong. We very much have that team mentality, and as I previously said as well, encourage that kind of internal promotion. So we don't have the same structure in terms of Toby's business, but we certainly, as I say, look at, and as we look to grow as an organisation, we'll look at a relatively similar model that's proven and that works, and implement that in the next probably 6 months or so. Brilliant.
I'd like to move on to values. It's something we touch on at Northumbria when we're teaching on the Help to Grow management programme. I'd like to explore some of the values that perhaps are inherent within your individual businesses. I know, Toby, at MBT, you describe family, ambition, curiosity and innovation. How does that actually work in practice within the business?
Family is obviously a key one, because it's about making sure the team's together and that we work together. Obviously family, because we're a family business, and like I said before, we have been for 112, 113 years now. One of the things we most want out of our team is to do a job for our clients and for our suppliers, but it's looking at how we do things differently. So we encourage them to be curious about the world. We try to train as much as possible, but it's just about looking outside of the walls that we've created today and saying, well, could we do this differently? We've done that. The reason we're over 100 years old is because we've innovated. So obviously innovation is a core part of that curiosity. It's what comes from it, and it's the only way I think the only way you can survive in business and be able to move forward in the long term is to look at things differently and to be different. We have to be different every day. We have to provide different services, different ways of working, and I think we've sort of started to prove that. And so that value piece is really key when when we're working with the team every minute of the day, really. But when you're looking for new people out there, and you can see at times where where we will, we've brought something into the business and it hasn't quite worked. It's usually because they don't meet one of those values, because that's what we're living to. And so it's not an easy thing to do. It's a difficult thing to do, but it is about how do you just keep people in those key areas and utilize them to the best of your ability.
And I think with values, it's something that larger organisations market themselves on, but I'm not sure whether many SMEs do, and I just wondered whether you think it's important that business should perhaps look at their own values.
Yeah, well, from my point of view, yes, they should. I think everyone dwells on their values. You don't have to write them down to have values. You'll have a value in the way you go to work and what you want to be, and you'll either, the reason that I see situations that we've had in our business over time where somebody hasn't worked out is because there's a value mismatch, and that's between me and them, or them and me, and you don't have to write that down. So when you say big corporate looks after the values and it's all written down and it's all very clear and precise, I think that's one thing, but I think every business has a set of values, and if you haven't got people working around you with the same ethos at the very start, and particularly in a small business, and I do have a couple of other businesses that I work with. We've broken our businesses up into smaller businesses in essence, and if you get that wrong at start of phase, you are destined to failure. So you've got to have people around you who have similar outlook, similar values, similar ethos. Otherwise, it's just not going to work.
I see Jessica nodding there. How does that impact on your business, Jessica? Because you talk about brilliant basics, magic touches in your business. I love that.
Yeah, no, we do. And again, so probably similar to Toby, I think we're both very open-minded and very keen to learn. And actually, brilliant basics, magic touches is not one of my phrases, which I'm sad to say, but a lady called Linda Moyer, who was Richard Branson's right-hand woman, and her catchphrase, her philosophy in life is about brilliant basics, magic touches, and that's absolutely the ethos of my business. And what that in essence means is that you add value at every single point of that relationship in a commercially viable way. So it's about doing what you say you're going to do and doing it really, really well, but adding that value at every stage. And, I think just further on from Toby's points in regards to values have to be lived and breathed in the organisation. They can't just be on paper and therefore, a statement that we should all adhere to. It's about actually how are they implemented down in your business? How are they evidenced? And they have to be so important. And there's a lot of discussions recently and for a long time, but I think it's been brought to the forefront of a lot of people's minds is around purpose. What is the purpose of the organisation? What are you trying to achieve? Why are you trying to achieve it? And I think that's led a lot of organisations to look at their values, to look at what's important to them, and look at the way that they recruit, the way that they engage in their supply chain, the way that they engage with all of their stakeholders and shareholders. Purpose and the values have got to be more than just words. They've got to be there. And for us, BBMT is a fundamental part of that, but as is relationships with integrity, being authentic and transparent, ambitious and passionate, and resilient and respectful. They're our values, and they have been for a long time, and we reassess those on a regular basis. But all of our assessments on performance is based on values, is based on behaviour, which I think is really, really important.
You're listening to Why Small Business Matters. Find out how Northumbria University can help your business thrive through the Help to Grow management programme. Delivered by leading small business and enterprise experts from Northumbria University, with the support of leading figures from industry and experienced entrepreneurs. The programme supports senior managers of small and medium-sized businesses to boost their business's performance, resilience, and long-term growth. The 12-week programme is 90% funded by the government, and the fee payable by participants is £750, and has been designed to allow participants to complete it alongside full-time work. The in-depth, high-quality curriculum supports you to build your capabilities in leadership, innovation, digital adoption, employee engagement, marketing, responsible business, and financial management. By the end of the program, you'll develop a business growth plan to help you lead your business to realize its potential. To find out more about the program, the modules, eligibility, and fees and delivery dates, go to northumbria.ac.uk/help-to-grow.
You're listening to Why Small Business Matters. My name is Sarah Stevenson, and today I'm talking to Jessica Williams and Toby Bridges. Just wondered, both of you sit on a number of boards and you're involved in networks and so on. And I just wondered how you think that helps you as leaders by being involved in other businesses and perhaps supporting, Jessica, you mentioned charities and just being involved in networks. How does that help you as a leader within your own business?
It's vastly important. Toby and I obviously, both employ people locally. We're both based in the region. We're really passionate about the region. And for me, that's very much around giving back as well, and really having an instrumental part of that. So for me, I've been involved in the region's organisations and charities for a long time. I'm really, really proud of that. I've sat on quite a few boards over the years. I set up Young Enterprise in Tees Valley and chaired that and pulled the board together for 3 years, which was amazing. Really, really passionate about young people and inspiring them to potentially go up and set their own business, as is Toby, and Toby was involved in that as well. And I think it's about, I think sometimes we complain about certain things and we get frustrated about certain things, but unless you're going to do something to change that, then I don't think you're in a position to complain. So, I know from my perspective, the boards I sit on are, one of them is to try and provide that link between education and businesses. So I can't complain that I can't find the right staff that aren't coming through the system if I'm not supporting that. And another one's from a funding perspective, and I'm also involved in quite a lot of other bits and bobs. I just think the charity partners that we've got we have different charity partners every year. Is charity partners that are close to my team choose the charity partners, not me as well. So they're close to their hearts, and it gives us a kind of a common purpose to be able to support those local organisations and make sure the money stays locally and we can support that. And that's the same through my position with Darlington Building Society as a non-exec as well.
I just have to say, I'm obviously not as famous or as connected as Jessica is across the region. I just have one or two little other interests. But I think in answer to your question, I think it's really important to be involved. I mean, I think family businesses across the UK and probably across the world are often big supporters of the local economy, and I think it's a really important factor. There's a number of major family foundations in the Northeast who support all sorts of things, and we do it, and so we've always had that mentality. I think and we do it in a very small way. So I founded a theatre about 3 or 4 years ago, because I really truly believe that people should have day-to-day access to the arts. I think arts provision in schools is being reduced. I think that's a bad thing for the next 10 years, when what we need is more creative thinkers, and creative thinking comes out of the arts and culture. And if that's not being delivered in schools, where can it be delivered? So that's why I got involved in that, and how do we get young people more motivated and driven and all of that, and running that sort of organisation where I run as an unpaid chair, with unpaid trustees, is an entirely different skill set in terms of managing. And I've got a brilliant board, and they're really good, and then we've got a whole paid team underneath that, but it's just different, and the product we deliver is different. It's been an incredibly challenging 18 months, as you can imagine, running a theatre business, being told you have to close. But I think you gain a lot as an individual in how you work through that, and then seeing lots of disadvantaged people, whether young or old, coming into our space and being able to access it, and hopefully being a little bit better and making a little bit of a difference in our corner of the world. It's really it's good for the soul, but it's important that we and others like us, like Jess, are doing as much as we possibly can, because the government can only go so far, So I think we all have to be doing that. And then working on other boards like the LEP or wherever it might be, it's about, it's like Jess says, we can complain about everything all the time, but there's not enough people in the right skill sets, but you've got to get out there and talk to people, and that's a good way of connecting in with the universities in the region and such, and the colleges, and even just, just being able to say what you think and let them hear it direct from an employer, particularly SME employers, who maybe his voice isn't as loud. That's a great thing too. So I think it's really important that, and everyone should do certainly leaders of businesses should be involved in other things.
They should, and just adding to that point as well, I think, that diversity of thought is so important. The information and the market information that we share and that we support each other in from different sectors is vastly important. And I think, as I say, I feel like I really have a duty to be able to support as much as I possibly can. And I think, you're learning from others that are in different sectors and different stages of their businesses and operate in very different markets is really interesting, but also I think it's really valuable to share that.
And just on that note, I mean, you've both mentioned there supporting other people, and I just wondered where you both turn for advice. Do you use each other as a sounding board, or do you have a mentor?
I think we talk about business an awful lot, probably too much, if I'm honest. I just answered this herself, but I've had a mentor, and various mentors over the years. It's an incredibly important thing. I also mentor back the other way, which is also incredibly important. I think I was saying the other day, Sarah, I don't like the term mentor and mentee. I think it's a two-way relationship where you talk and you support and you have a conversation, because I have learned in my mentoring relationships and being mentored, I've learned as much both ways. I've learned as much from the mentee as I have from the mentor. And I think that's an incredibly important thing that people should do. And, but in terms of Jess and I, we do when she's had a bad day, I've had a bad day, they're there. And the nice thing is she understands the challenges I'm going through. I think we'd probably argue that we should probably shut up a bit more and listen. You know, we've always got great advice to give, haven't we, Jess? But yeah, I mean, it does help. There's no two ways about it. That somebody that understands the mindset that you've got and the challenges that you may well have. So
yeah,
I hope you agree with that, Jess.
No, I do. I think I totally concur with everything you said, and you know, I've had mentors. I have mentors, and you know, massive believer in that. I also mentor as well, the Girls Network, one of our charity partners. I've mentored, you know, a range of people and continue to mentor. I think it's really, really important. I suppose from, you know, as I say, I think Toby and I are very open to learning and to listening to others' perspective, which I think really is vastly important when you're running a business, is that, you know, you don't become insular in terms of your mindset, that you are open. And I think, you know, whilst Toby and I have very different businesses, we have some similar pressures. And, you know, having that support for me in terms of Toby understanding the pressure that I'm under and the pressure that it takes to, you know, and the perseverance and the resilience and the determination and the drive and, you know, the sheer, you know, just single-mindedness at times to run a business that it takes, you know, and Toby understands that. And so, you know, that's a really big support. I think, to be fair, I think we've got the balance relatively okay. We were away at the weekend and we didn't really talk about work too much. But I think the important thing is that we both acknowledge that, you know, we're there to support each other. And, you know, we all have bad days, we all have good days. I think Toby's absolutely right. Both of us are kind of solution providers. So we like to try and fix stuff. And when we're both like that, yeah, I think sometimes we can both probably listen more, but it works. It works.
Our podcast is called Why Small Business Matters, and I'd just like to ask you both why you think it's important to shout out about what's going on with small business in the North East.
It's incredibly important. It's a huge percentage of the economy is small business, and I think a lot of the great ideas are born in small business. They're born in startups. They're born in spin-outs, and giving companies or the people, the leaders, the founders, the chance to move on and grow those businesses is incredibly important. You know, it's where exciting economies happen. You know, it's incredibly important. I'm sitting outside Nissan at the moment, so it's incredibly important to have those large OEMs. You know, the Nissans, the GlaxoSmithKlines in the region. But it's important that we nurture and encourage people to think differently, and I think that's what happens in small business. And I think, you know, and it's an entirely different. I think it's probably entirely different work environment as well. I've never worked in a large company, so I can't comment on it. But I've worked with many, you know. So I think it's and allowing somebody to start a business and then gain a mentor, help them understand where to go, push it on, employ people, create something new. It's only ever going to create a vibrant region, and that's what we need in the Northeast, is a vibrant region. You know, so it's incredibly important that we support, and that the LEP supports those aims, both LEPs in the Northeast, and then the government behind that.
I couldn't agree more. You know, if you look at the percentages in terms of small businesses within the Northeast, it's a vast proportion. You know, they are the engine of the Northeast. I really believe that. And like Toby said, we're fortunate to have some really big players in the Northeast, but there's that supply chain that supports those. I think we are a very entrepreneurial economy. I think we've got some incredible small businesses, and I think small businesses play such an important part in terms of supporting the Northeast economy and driving us forward. I think, you know, we are blessed in the Northeast, and when I say the Northeast, I mean the Northeast and Tees Valley, and, you know, we are blessed in terms of that. I think there needs to be some more support for startups. I do. I think there's an awful lot of pressure for startups to scale, and sometimes that's in an unsustainable way. And I think we need to be very mindful of that.
I think it's important that people understand the difference between growth and scale.
Absolutely.
And why would you want to, and where do you want to be in 5 years? It's all those questions, isn't it?
It's got to be about sustainability.
And somehow there needs to be some mechanism that helps people understand all that, which there is. I mean, there are there now, but it just needs to be wider spread and probably more accessible and easier found.
It does, and I think one of the things that I always say about our region as a full region is, we are superb in the way that, we have great ideas and we diversify and we want to bring things to market, but what we're appalling at is collaboration, is bringing that together. And I think small business owners could work much better and more effectively and cohesively together. But small businesses are the lifeblood, of the UK economy and certainly the North East economy, and we should do everything we can to support them.
And I just wondered where if I were a small business and I wanted to grow, where should I go? I mean, I think that's some of the things I hear a lot from business who come to the university is, I'm not quite sure where to turn. Who do I talk to about growing my business? Where do I turn to for investment?
Yeah, it is a good question. The thing is, there's probably lots of opportunities to do that. There's, the LEP would say, well, you should go to the growth hub. So when I talk about the Northeast LEP, that say go to the growth hub, which will give you access to a whole range of resources. The problem is there's probably thousands of resources, so where do you start?
And that was my comment earlier in regards to, that's what I mean. I think we're brilliant at doing lots of initiatives, but we need that central function. And Tees Valley have got the Tees Valley Business Hub like the Northeast LEP have, but we need to centralise it in essence, I think.
Yeah, it needs to be more transparent, and that's what I'm saying, more easily found.
Yeah.
I think, and as I said, we both sit on boards which oversee that, and I think it's got better over the years, but it's, if you're saying you can't find somewhere, Sarah, then that says it's not working, doesn't it? So I think the other thing is as well, there's some great institutions out there you can join, whether that's the Entrepreneurs Forum or the Chamber of Commerce or the Northeast Automotive Alliance if you're in that sector. They're all useful places to start. The best thing to do is to join one of those organizations and meet people. There's no point joining an organization and then not being a part. When I took over from Dad as MD of MBT, I was feeling a bit lonely because he stepped out and let me get on with it. And I went to the Entrepreneurs Forum I used, and I went to a dinner that they hosted, a small dinner that they hosted. And after that dinner, I went and met everybody who was at that table. And I got a mentor out of that. It changed my whole way of thinking. It just allowed me to step on, and it gave me access to. And the reason I'm probably sitting here on this podcast is because I did that. And it's amazing. I look back at some of the decisions I made. The key decision I made was just go meet people. That's the easiest way, because, and I would say to anyone, if somebody drops me a line on LinkedIn or whatever it is, I'll try and answer that or point them in the right direction. And there's lots of, in the Northeast, we are really very fortunate. There's a lot of good people who are happy to do that,
that want to help. Yeah,
and I'd include Jess as one of those. And I think, whilst there's all these disparate entities, getting a hold of a close network of people is probably step one. And then because the Northeast being so small as well, which is good and bad, it just is. There's usually nobody you can't access.
And social media has given us the platform to be able to do that. And I think, actually, when I went to set up my business 7 years ago, it was Toby that I went to speak to through the Entrepreneurs Forum to say, what do you think I should do? And obviously that's how our journey began. But I think there are organisations that, like the Entrepreneurs Forum, that provide that support function, because it is pretty lonely running your own business. It's pretty hard because you have to, as a startup, when there's just you, and I speak from experience twice, you have to do everything, and we can't know everything. We can't be an HR function and a finance function, a sales and a marketing function. We each specialise in our own thing. And I think one thing that I wish I'd done differently is I wish I'd outsourced more from an earlier stage. I wish I'd asked for help more. I think we presume that we should know everything, but we can't. And I think the benefit is absolutely get a mentor, and I'm from Yorkshire originally, and we have a phrase which is shy bones getting out. And I fundamentally believe that if you ask for people for help, if you ask to have half an hour of their time to pick their brains or just to have that coffee, they will help you, and LinkedIn is a great opportunity to do that. You can see who you connected with, or you can use one of the networks, one of the organisations, but I think in the Northeast, fundamentally, we want to support, we want to help each other. And I think, you've got to take the time to really understand what your skill set is, what you're good at, what you're not good at, and what you can bring people in that are better than you to support you, what you can outsource. And the more you can do that, and the quicker that you can understand your skill set and what you can and can't do, I think the better that you can be.
Don't be scared to ask the stupid question, is what I always say. Because if people aren't prepared to take that at face value, then they're not the people you should be talking to. And invariably, I constantly asking stupid questions. I spend my life doing it, but that's what moves you forward and moves you on and broadens your horizons. I like to play. It's like I've just sat through a whole session around technology, and whilst we have a technology company in our group, I know nothing about technology. But I know more than I did last year because I just keep asking the questions.
Do you know, I think you've got to be inquisitive, haven't you? I think that's one of the really fundamental characteristics.
Got to be curious.
You've got to be curious and you've got to be inquisitive. They're fundamental things, and it is. And actually, it's something that we try and instill, and I think it's really, really important, and it's a characteristic that I really look for when I'm hiring people, because I believe that you can train anybody to do anything to a certain extent. You can't change the characteristics necessarily in the attitude that they have. So I want inquisitive people, I want curious people, because that's what drives people forward, that's what engages people, and that's the type of people that I want in my business. And I think Toby's pretty similar in that. So yeah. Sometimes we ask why a little bit too much, though, I think.
Fantastic. So I've got one final question for you. If I could grant you an interview with one influential figure, who would it be and why?
Well, I already know Jess, so why would I want anybody else?
So cliche. Wait till you get home. Teasing the dog. Sorry, you didn't pre-warn us of this question.
Actually, I was pre-warned, and do you know what?
I was not.
I don't know. I don't think there is one person. What I love about being in business, and I guess particularly business in the Northeast, but probably anywhere, is the fact that I can walk into a room and there's always going to be somebody interesting to talk to. Like I came to a meeting this morning and I wasn't sure what I was going to get out of it, but actually got a lot out of it because it's just about connecting. Reading books by Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or whatever, or Richard Branson, that's all great, and you learn from that. To me, it's just the ability to walk into a room and because it doesn't have to be somebody famous, or anyone can influence the direction. I said the meeting I've had this morning, I think it's going to influence my direction of travel, and who knew? So that for me is it. I wouldn't want to be meeting one person. I think it's about not being scared, having a great network and not being scared to talk to them and just ask the questions.
One of the things I love about running...
Did I get out of that without not having to name somebody?
You didn't. Not really. It was a bit of a cop-out, but I'm going to follow on the same lines. One of the things that I love about running my own business is the opportunity to be able to engage in such a vast array of conversations, and being inquisitive allows you to do that. Being part of a variety of networks and working across a variety of sectors is being able to meet such a diverse range of people. And that's again one of the reasons that I think, I speak on behalf of Toby and I here, is that we get involved in lots of different things, because actually that diversity of thought is so important. And I think, therefore to say one person would be remiss of me. I read a lot of books. I'm really fascinated by the way that people do things and how you can constantly evolve and learn, but in essence, I think surrounding yourself with people that have a similar mindset to you, that will support you, and interesting people from a diverse range, and having an open mindset in terms of, listening to things. And, again, obviously, Toby and I originally met at the Entrepreneurs Forum, and going to conferences and that you might see the speaker lineup and think, actually, that's not related to my business, or there's totally different sectors. That's when you should go, because actually they're the types of conversations. And it was one of those sessions that, started me off on this B Corp journey. And, you learn so much, from these. And, Toby and I have got a shared vision in terms of what we want to do with our personal lives, I suppose, moving forward, and where we want to go. And that was kind of because we read something and then we explored it, and, we listened to things, and you kind of get immersed in these things. And before you know it, you're kind of on this journey. So I think, I just believe surrounding yourself with amazing people and amazing opportunities will broaden your horizons and open your mind. We really skirted that question, didn't we, Sarah? We didn't answer that at all.
That was classic. Thanks very much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you both today, and I've learned a huge amount. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you to my guests, Jessica Williams and Toby Bridges. If you enjoyed this episode, why not check out previous podcasts with John McCabe from the North East Chamber of Commerce and Ollie Barrett and Caroline Theobald, who talked to us about networking. If you want to find out more about how Northumbria University can work with your business, and details about the new Help to Grow management programme, please go to northumbria.ac.uk/help to grow.